Hello everyone, and welcome to Whiskey Wednesday. I finally managed to get one. Now I know a lot of people have already reviewed this, and I think we've successfully reviewed 3 out of 4 of them. I don't think we managed to review the Tawny Port, which came out last year. Shame on me. But it was getting to the end of May. Only a few bottles of this appeared in the shop I work in, and I couldn't quite afford it, so I split the bottle with a friend. So I've not drank all of this in like 2 weeks. It is good, but it's not like crazy good. Or me being crazy drinking that much good. So it's a bottle split, which I encourage more of you to do because it's a more accessible way to get all the good whiskey. And this is the Glen Scotia 10-year-old Campbelltown Festival Edition. Unpeated, 56.1%. I get that right? 56.1? I always forget these percentages. It is 56.1. Natural colour, natural cask strength, non-chill filtered. First fill bourbon casks for 9 years and 7 months of its life, and then transferred into some Bordeaux red wine casks for the last 5 months. I don't know a lot about wine. I have tried Bordeaux. I like it, but it's not a flavour profile, which is something that I'm vastly aware of and what it typically smells like. So this will be interesting because I know what Glen Scotia smells like. But yeah, every time these things come out, they're always fantastic. The Ruby Port was an easy whiskey of the year. 2016 that was, I think. Or was it 2018? Time flies. But that one won it. The rum cask was still pretty good. It took a long time to open up, but it was good. Did try the Tawny Port. A customer gave me a sample. I thought it was okay. I thought for me that was the weakest of the 4, but it was just a sample. And now we've got this, which has been open for about 2 weeks. Plenty of oxygen running around it. So let's smell, let's taste, let's examine. And it's been in the glass for a while and it's already sort of stained it, which is always a good sign. But let's smell. So it's pretty volatile up front. There's no kind of keeping that ABV down. But this is the first cask strength whiskey I've tried in a while, so maybe that's why. So there's a nice interplay between bourbon and red wine. We have those classic caramels, it's a bit minty, there's some really nice gentle vanilla notes and some nice brown sugar notes in it as well. Brown sugar is something I've always got from like Glen Scotia 15, the 18, even the double cask has some of it in there, the 25 had it as well, so brown sugar and Glen Scotia for me, they're always there. The Bordeaux cask is bringing an interesting element. It's almost like a strawberry, I don't want to use the word syrup because I think that gives you like a texture, which is not the texture I'm talking about, it's purely the smell, like very condensed strawberry. It's really sweet and kind of slightly tart at the same time. Combating the two of those is a nice bit of Campbelltown coastalness, a bit salty. That is very reminiscent of double cask. But yeah, just from that Bordeaux, just this really nice subtle red fruit, summer fruit thing. There's a red currant note in there as well. Might be providing a nice bitterness when we try it, because I've tried red currants and they're always just like, ugh, but they smell fantastic. One more smell and then we'll go in for the taste. I like cinnamon. That's coming through now. Yeah, cinnamon, strawberry, mint, caramel, vanilla, brown sugar, bit salty. Wonderful. Let's taste. Oh, it builds. It starts off so sweet and then it builds. I wasn't quite prepared for that. The initial arrival of this thing is so mellow, it's kind of frightening. You're almost a little bit let down because it's such a soft arrival. Then as you swirl it around, you start to lose the vanilla and you kind of lose that little kind of nice strawberry note. And then through the middle of your tongue just comes this wave of spice, which is good because it's contrasting. And I didn't want just sweetness to override this thing because I was quite scared it was going to do that. So big kind of wave of spiciness down the middle of your tongue, all that cask strength. The saltiness is kind of bound within that. And that cinnamon note, which I just got on the last smell. I'm not a huge fan of cinnamon. Maybe my palate's changing. Or maybe it's just Glen Scotia cinnamon that I like. But it feels like it's baked and like a bit lighter, not as heavy as like the cinnamon I had as like a kid on desserts and stuff. Second sip is all about that brown sugar note. It's like brown sugar and apples. It's almost like apple pie, but then it's got strawberries served with it too. But it's really spicy. Amazingly, through these big barrel influences and all the strength, I still get like a creamy barley, almost like a new make spirit sort of taste. And it's only 10 years old, it's unpeated, so we would expect that. There's a lot going on with it. I think I've maybe not given this enough time to just kind of breathe and air out, but it reminds me a lot of Highland Park, which no Glen Scotia has really done before, but this particular one reminds me a lot of Highland Park. A lot of their limited releases that have been good, most notably the Twisted Tattoo, which we reviewed a couple of years ago. It really does remind me of that. That was in white Rioja casks. Spanish wine versus French wine. Similar ABVs as, no they weren't, the Highland Park was lower. But it really does remind me of that. And now there's like, you know, like strawberry laces. I'm pretty sure every kid in the world has tried, in the Western world has tried those at some point. And they're like dabbed with like sour sugar. Now I get that. And there's almost like a red licorice note too. Red things everywhere. Red things and brown sugar and cinnamon. And then the salt. The salt seems to come back on every other sip. This is very much a whiskey. If someone said, which Glen Scotia should I try? That would sit close to top of the pile. I still think the 15 and the Ruby Port are still more classic examples. Scoring this is going to be quite hard. It's not a 10. I think there's not like a... It's an amazing whiskey, but it's not something that is blowing me out of the water, which is what a 10 should be, right? You should try it and you should be like, whoa, I'll buy a case of it straight away. This is delicious, but I don't quite think it's that. But it's still very good. I think a 9 is a very good score. It sounds like I'm underrating my own scoring system, but a 9 is still a very impressive score. I think there is just all these beautiful little flavors, and the initial arrival of that spice and how it builds is excellent. But I think I want slightly more from the bourbon and slightly more from the Bordeaux, all one of each. At the minute, the Bordeaux is just this beautiful kind of red undertone to everything. Whereas I think if they would have just left it as a all bourbon cask strength and peated 10-year-old, I think that would have wowed me more. Because you know what I'm like with bourbon barrels. But that's a small critique, the smallest critique of it. Everything else is pretty flawless. But yeah, I think it gets a solid 9. It's a beautiful whiskey. If you have one, please open it. It'd be really cool to try all these Campbelltown Festival whiskies side by side. I'm going to try it one more time and then we'll sign off. Yeah, very Highland Park. Very, very Highland Park with just a French influence to it. But a beautiful whiskey. Please tell me your thoughts on this, because I know most of you have it already. But this is the 2021 Glen Scotia 10-year-old Festival Edition, Bordeaux finish. It's a solid 9 from me. Hope some of you may agree with that, but if you disagree, that's always fun to talk about too. But yeah, I'm Phil, this is Whisky Wednesday, this is a Glen Scotia, and I'll see you all next week. Cheers.